Our prayers are with them and their families.
You said all the people you did have in mind have been taken out.
Well, most of the people we had in mind are dead. So, we had some in mind from that group that is dead. And now we have another group. They may be dead also, based on reports. So I guess you have a third wave coming in. Pretty soon we're not going to know anybody.
We're following these reports out of Dubai that indicate an Iranian drone hit the U.S. consulate in Dubai. We understand that the building and many of these surrounding buildings had been fully or at least partially evacuated. And again, these are just initial reports coming in. Fox's Jennifer Griffin also confirming that a hit did take place in this area.
Listen, let me explain to you guys this in simple English, okay? Iran is run by lunatics, religious fanatic lunatics. They have an ambition to have nuclear weapons. They intend to develop those nuclear weapons behind a program of missiles and drones and terrorism that the world will not be able to touch them for fear of those things. And this is the weakest they've ever been. Now is the time to go after them. The president made the decision to go after them, take away their missiles, take away their navy, take away their drones, take away their ability to make those things so that they can never have a nuclear weapon. That's why the president made this decision. It was the right decision, and the world will be a safer place when these radical clerics no longer have access to these weapons. You see how they're using them now. Imagine how they would use them a year from now if they had more of these.
Israel has reported that that on Saturday 90 ballistic missiles were fired at it. Today, just 20. So it is going down, and I'm hearing from CENTCOM officials that in fact they're seeing fewer and fewer in these waves. But again, these drones are going to are causing a lot of damage. They're the ones that have struck these hotels in Dubai and Bahrain and elsewhere, and they're going to be a problem for some time.
We support efforts to prevent Iran from obtaining a nuclear weapon and to prevent its regime from further threatening international peace and security. Because Canada is taking the world as it is, not passively waiting for a world we wish to be. We do, however, take this position with regret because the current conflict is another example of the failure of the international order. And now the United States and Israel have acted without engaging the United Nations or consulting allies, including Canada.
All Red has already stated, we encourage each and every one of you to remain resilient. We cannot allow this type of behavior to be rewarded, because so long as they know that they can win, even if it means cheating, then they will continue to do it.
We're not going to have election results tonight, in my opinion, based upon what specifically is taking place in Dallas County. Unfortunately, this is what Republicans like to do. And so they specifically targeted Dallas County, and I think we all know why.
Texas has always been found to be intentionally discriminatory. And so I want y'all to understand the makeup of my state. The state is a majority-minority state. And what this legislature historically has done is what they plan to do again, is to dilute the voices of people of color in order to make sure that they can get to where they're trying to go. We only have 4 seats that are represented by black folk. Texas. So all of the races feel away when you call them exactly what they are. When you say, oh, you guys are racist and you guys are trying to implement racist practices with these racist maps, right? So, people getting their feelings, oh, how dare you? It's like, bro, I get that you took your hood off, but your hood is still there. Like, we see it. We know what we see, okay?
Running on empty, brain fog, can't focus, and those sugar-loaded energy drinks? Sure, they spike you fast, then crash you hard. Fix it with Soldier Fuel, the official energy drink of real America's voice. Soldier Fuel was born in the military to solve a real problem. Troops were relying on sugary drinks that wreck performance, so they built a better option. Zero sugar and steady energy, powered by caffeine, taurine, inositol, and extra B vitamins for clean energy and focus. No roller coaster crash. This isn't gas station hype. Soldier Fuel was built alongside the U.S. military and proven where it counts. Used by American soldiers and elite special operations.
This is really
And when you fuel up, you give back. 15% of profits go to pro-military charities. Scan the QR code, search for Soldier Fuel on Amazon, or go to buysoldierfuel.com and get an automatic 15% off your entire order. From powerhouse vocalist Natasha Owens, known for standout singles like Trump One and Somali Waltz, comes her brand new release, The Boss, released on Real America's Music. This is the direct response to Bruce Springsteen's recent release, The Streets of Minneapolis, while Springsteen once branded himself as a voice of the working class.
Every day, there's a battle for your mind raging. Information coming from every angle with the will to deceive. Fear not. You found the place for truth. The voice of a generation that still has the will to believe in the greatest country in the history of the world. This is the Charlie Kirk Show. Buckle up. Here we go.
All right, welcome to the Charlie Kirk Show, March 4th, 2026. Welcome, Blake.
Howdy.
Here at the Phoenix Bitcoin.com studios, your one-stop shop to buy, sell, and trade Bitcoin. Check those guys out today. Do yourselves a favor. Lots to get to today. We have a jam-packed show. I'm excited to announce that we have Steve Toth, who took down Dan Crenshaw. Dan Crenshaw. And that was a big upset. Dan Crenshaw becomes the first incumbent House member to lose his reelection bid. So he's done. And so there you go. That is a Turning Point Action endorsed candidate, taking out Dan Crenshaw in Texas's 2nd district.
Thank you to everyone who turned out. North of Phoenix, Woodlands area.
North of Houston.
Houston.
Yeah.
Oh, why did I say
Because, you live in
psyoping me with this Bitcoin.com studio.
Well, it's the Bitcoin.com studio. Check them out today. Anyway, so we've got him in the second hour at 1:30 Eastern, so don't go anywhere. We're excited to talk to him. We've actually also got an admiral. We're going to talk tactics, what we know about chessboard pieces moving across the board in the Iran war. But we want to unpack everything that's going on right now with the primary elections in Texas that happened last night. Here on Real America's Voice, Steve Bannon did a bang-up job covering the outcomes last night, so kudos to him. Hat tip big time. But let's get to the Senate race, because this was the big one. And there's a lot going on, on the AG, on House races. We get that. But let's go to this. John Cornyn looks like he eked out a victory over Ken Paxton. We endorsed Ken Paxton. But the big story here, Blake, is it's hard to overstate how much of a David versus Goliath story this actually is.
They spent approximately, $60 million?
Well, I've seen 60, I've seen 75, I've seen 105. It depends.
Huge amounts of money either way. They massively spent to keep Cornyn in office. I would say Cornyn has to be one of the Republicans who sparks the least enthusiasm among the base of his state and around the country.
Well, here's the angle here, though. If you're looking at that, you see Wesley Hunt got almost 300,000 votes. Okay. That is a lot of votes. And mark my words, turnout's going to be even higher for the runoff. Okay. So what you're seeing is a 41.9% for Cornyn, the incumbent, over 40.7% for Ken Paxton.
I mean, it's just Cornyn's a guy. I think it's pretty safe to say Paxton is advantaged in the runoff. And the reason for this is Cornyn is a pro-amnesty Republican. He's well known for that.
Also, Wesley Hunt, most of those votes for Wesley Hunt are probably going to go to Paxton. And here's the other thing. The Senate Leadership Fund was hitting Wesley Hunt. So if the Senate Leadership Fund is obviously wants John Cornyn, they think John Cornyn is the more electable of the two candidates. But then you go after Wesley Hunt, you're alienating Wesley Hunt's voters. I'm not exactly sure what the logic was on that. But the piece here that's important is the establishment wants John Cornyn. They think that he is more electable. And maybe he might be.
Maybe, although it's okay. He's a vote for amnesty. I would rather not have a vote for amnesty in the Senate. He's a vote against so many things.
He might be more electable, but here's the thing. They have said this about Ken Paxton from the jump. They have done this to him in every statewide election. And guess what? Ken Paxton keeps winning, and winning by a sizable majority. Now, I'm not saying that if you put Cornyn up against Talarico, that Cornyn wouldn't get maybe a percentage point more or a percentage point and a half. But then you get this senator that's good for nothing in the U.S. Senate. We have enough of those. Ken Paxton is a fighter. He's proven he can win statewide again and again and again. They always throw the same attack lines at him. He's absolutely capable of winning the general against...
Well, that is the more important thing, because the candidate on the Democrat side, I think we were all hoping we would get to go against Jasmine Crockett.
Yes.
We all have found her highly entertaining. She's given us a lot of enjoyment over the years. But Jasmine Crockett's somewhat long shot primary bid, where she opened with a video of President Trump calling her an idiot while sitting there,
has fallen short.
She has fallen short. We should bid farewell for her with one final video, I think, which is her coming out and saying that the primary was rigged by the Republicans. We will note primaries in Texas are just run by the parties themselves. So I guess the Republicans infiltrated the Democrat Party and just set it all up. We will bid her farewell with one last cry of racism. 471.
All Red has already stated, we encourage each and every one of you to remain resilient. We cannot allow this type of behavior to be rewarded, because so long as they know that they can win, even if it means cheating, then they will continue to do it.
Wait. Hold on. I have been credibly informed that there is no such thing as election fraud. I have been credibly informed. But yet Jasmine Crockett alleges that there was cheating going on. My favorite thing to see is Democrats alleging other Democrats are cheating. Or in this case, I guess she said that Republicans rigged it or something. I don't know why we would rig it. Okay, I begrudgingly am going to give Blake a little hat tip here. I had a very good line about Talarico. Now, Talarico.
So that is who won.
Yes,
James Talarico. Presbyterian seminarian, I think is what he was.
But is he moderate?
Well, so that's the thing, is that we have to kind of reintroduce Talarico to everyone. You're going to be seeing him a lot. He is now the standard bearer for the Democrats this midterm. He is their guy. He's probably going to get the most money. If he were to win next November, it will be touted as their biggest win.
Correct.
We're going to see this guy everywhere, James Talarico, and they're going to tell you he's a moderate. He's the new face of the Democrat Party. He's better than Kamala.
Boy.
He's Christian. He's a good old boy, all these things. James Talarico is not moderate. He's just white. That's just all it is.
The lie.
He is a white male.
Can we repeat that for the folks in the back that maybe didn't hear you? James Talarico is not moderate. He's just white.
It is the exact same thing they ran with Tim Walz in 2024 election.
In Virginia.
Yeah, Abigail Spanberger. Well, not a man there, but yeah, Tim Walz. The point is they trot this guy out and they say, look, he's a white, straight guy. He hunts. He was on a football team. Ergo, he's moderate. He's safe for all of you. When we know, because he tells you himself, he embraces all of the worst, most radical policies of the Democratic Party. Like, we have Gavin Newsom coming out and sort of signaling, we should maybe chill out on the transgender stuff, guys. When this guy is going out and saying stuff like this, 495.
God is both masculine and feminine and everything in between. God is non-binary.
Oy.
Or this, where he said, there are 6 biological sexes, 524.
I want us all to be aware of is that modern science obviously recognizes that there are many more than 2 biological sexes. In fact, there are 6.
But
6 biological sexes.
Like, this is the moderate stance.
This is the moderate.
Because the radical Debs, they believe there's infinity sexes. At least he's limiting it to 6. So he is moderate. He's a total moderate. He only believes in 6 sexes. Guys, the James Talarico op is an op. Do not fall for it. And you're going to get to know this guy very, very well. We've got more clips from him. As a matter of fact, we're not done yet with James Talarico. It's Strong Cell time. This was Charlie's favorite supplement, as far as I could tell. Everywhere he'd go, you folks, I don't know what it was about the messaging, but you would ask him about Strong Cell, and they are back on the show. And
people would accost him in the street. They would grab him and they'd be like, Charlie.
Here. All right, here we go.
Does it work?
Strong Cell. They have a proprietary delivery mechanism of NADH, powers your cells. So if you have brain fog, fatigue, lack of energy, or constant illness, you have to give this 4 to 6 weeks. You are going to be more energetic than you've been in a long time. That's what I believe, because that's what I've experienced. And guess what? You have a 90-day money-back, risk-free guarantee. So if it doesn't work, that's fine. You just go and they'll give you your money back. Use promo code Charlie at strongcell.com right now to get 20% off. Strongcell.com. 20% off with promo code Charlie. Check it out. We'll be right back.
Running on empty, brain fog, can't focus, and those sugar-loaded energy drinks? Sure, they spike you fast, then crash you hard. Fix it with Soldier Fuel, the official energy drink of real America's voice. Soldier Fuel was born in the military to solve a real problem. Troops were relying on sugary drinks that wreck performance, so they built a better option. Zero sugar and steady energy, powered by caffeine, taurine, inositol, and extra B vitamins for clean energy and focus. No roller coaster crash. This isn't gas station hype. Soldier Fuel was built alongside the U.S. military and proven where it counts. Used by American soldiers and elite special operations.
This is really good.
And when you fuel up, you give back. 15% of profits go to pro-military charities. Scan the QR code, search for Soldier Fuel on Amazon, or go to buysoldierfuel.com and get an automatic 15% off your entire order. From powerhouse vocalist Natasha Owens, known for standout singles like Trump One and Somali Waltz, comes her brand new release, The Boss, released on Real America's Music. This is the direct response to Bruce Springsteen's recent release, The Streets of Minneapolis. While Springsteen once branded himself as a voice of the working class, The Boss gives a voice to everyday Americans and reminds listeners who truly shapes the future. The Real America's Voice audience has the power to move charts and shake the industry. Download it right now. Scan the QR code or search The Boss on iTunes. Push it up the charts. Make them notice.
My name is T.J. Ash from Carbonville, Utah. Real America's Voice lets me express my conservative views without censorship or editing.
This is Tim King, also known as USS Malik, and I love Real America's Voices for its like-minded programming and the chat. Love you guys.
Hi, I'm Bridgie. And why do I love rap? Well, even out here in the cornfields of Iowa, I still need news I can depend on. That is Real America's Voice.
Charlie Kirk Show. Much more to get to on James Talarico. We're not done with him yet, but I want to tell you about YRefi, our good friends over at YRefi. We are all in with these guys because we think they are truly, truly important. Guess what? The college cabal, 51% of Gen Z now, did you realize this? Now think that a college credential is irrelevant, and I agree with them.
More and more.
Listen, you can go to college and get a good degree. You can get good skills. But more often than not, you're getting crap skills. You're getting a credential. You can go learn those in other places, make way more money, start your own business, have a better life. And guess what? Not be burdened by mountains of private student loan debt that are going to put off family formation, put off home buying, all of those good things, the American dream. That's essentially what college has become. It's become an impediment to the American dream for a lot of people because the cost of it is skyrocketed. But we love learning. Let's just be clear about that. YRefi does not care what your credit score is. They're working with you individually to tailor a solution. If you find yourself in a position where you have a mountain of private student loan debt that's piling up on that kitchen table, you don't have to live like that anymore. If you're depressed, if you're suicidal, if you're distressed about your private student loan debt, let YRefi help you. They're good people. This is what they get up in the morning to do, is help people like you, or people, if you know people that have private student loan debt. Check YRefi out. Call them 888-YRefi-34 or log on to REFY.com. YRefi is there to help. May not be available in all 50 states, but please, please, please check them out. We're hearing all kinds of stories of listeners in this audience that have reached out to them and gotten the help they need. All right. I have to do this. We have to continue on this James Talarico story. So here's a Bible verse for you, Blake. James 14:6. Jesus answered, I am the way and the truth and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. Now, hear Talarico's take on this, 535.
I believe Christianity points to the truth. I also think other religions of love point to the same truth. I think of different religious traditions as different languages. So you and I could sit here and debate what to call this cup, and you could call it a cup in English, you'd call it something else in Spanish and French, but we are all talking about the same reality. I believe Jesus Christ reveals that reality to us, but I also think that other traditions reveal that reality in their own ways with their own symbol structures. And I've learned more about my tradition by learning more about Buddhism and Hinduism and Islam and Judaism. And so I see these beautiful faith traditions as circling the same truth about the universe, about the cosmos. And that truth is inherently a mystery.
Okay.
Okay.
So I think it's worth repeating every time you see these clips. I want you to tell yourself, James Talarico is not moderate. He's just white.
Yeah,
okay.
I mean, so I think we can come up with various terms for what Talarico believes, but it's not Christianity. Like,
that is
are you
very
a believer
true.
in the Christ who said he was sent by God to redeem sins or not? Like, answer the question.
Well, and this is the thing. Left-wing Christianity is an extraordinary intellectual exercise, because you can see there, James Talarico is twisting himself into ideological and intellectual knots, trying to carve a way out for a progressive to relate to what he's saying, so that they don't think he's a bigot, not like all us MAGA Bible thumpers. And it's designed, progressive Christianity, to blot out all the aspects of the faith that don't align with the Democrat Party platform. Said another way, they put their own ideologies, their own wants, their own appetites ahead of the commandments of God in Scripture. And that's why it's completely unrecognizable to your average Christian, to your average evangelical, to your average Catholic, to your average Orthodox. And this is a verse for James Talarico. I'd love to get his feedback on this. 2 Timothy 4:3-4. For the time is coming when people will not endure sound teaching, but having itching ears, they will accumulate for themselves teachers to suit their own passions, and will turn away from listening to the truth and wander off into myths. And that's what you're seeing with the progressive Christians like James Talarico.
I feel like we're going to need a sustained investigation to find out how many coexist bumper stickers James Talarico has plastered on his car, on his computers, on various paraphernalia throughout his life. Because the answer is not zero.
Yeah, the answer is
100% not zero.
Well, and listen, to make a further point, this is how James Talarico uses Scripture and his Christian faith and going to seminary, of course, because no seminaries are progressive, of course, to defend abortion. Not just any abortion, by the way, trans abortion as well, 490.
Before we go further, I want to acknowledge that our trans community needs abortion care too. Defending trans Texans is something we have to do every day at the state capitol. And you better believe I'll be giving sermons on that too. So when I use the word woman, it should not be understood as an exhaustive term, but rather as a lens through which to understand, examine, and interrogate patriarchy.
Okay, so I'm going to note something. So for those who can't see it, he was preaching at St. Andrew's Presbyterian Church. I want to go back to his whole every religion is true. St. Andrew is an apostle, and according to tradition, he is martyred on an X cross because he will not follow the Roman gods. He will not follow the pagan gods. He preaches that Christ is the Savior and the only, is
the way, the truth,
the way and the truth of life, and that God is the only God. And for that, he is executed according to Christian tradition. That is why he is Saint Andrew. So how can James go out there and say, well, actually, the Romans were also just on their way to the truth? And he probably should have been more tolerant of that.
Well, he probably would have said, well, the Romans were not practicing a religion of love.
Yeah, he might have said the Romans were better because the Romans didn't have nearly the problem with abortion that the early Christians did. But no, he says they were wrong on that one, too.
Listen, be careful and beware of false teachers that will lead you astray. And they will tell you whatever their itching ears want to hear because they are avoiding persecution for the truth. That is essentially what this is. God says, do you fear man? Do you fear God? Well, when you water down Scripture and when you put your own intellect and your own ideologies and your own political platform ahead of what Scripture says, well, that's false teaching, and it's extremely dangerous. But wait, there's more. James Talarico's bad on the border. Can you imagine being a Texan and being awful on the border? And
well, we have a Republican who's bad on the border in the Senate for Texas right now.
Fair enough. 494.
Our southern border should be like our front porch. There should be a giant welcome mat out front and a lock on the door. We can welcome immigrants who want to live the American dream. We can build a pathway to citizenship for those neighbors who have been here, making us richer and stronger, and we can keep out people who mean to do us harm.
Giant front porch. Welcome
Again,
them all in.
He is not moderate. He's just a white guy. And they're going to endlessly do this spin. And it's really sinister. As Christians, we have to be especially alert when they put these fake Christians in front of you and they say, oh, he loves Jesus too. And when they're preaching something that is really evil, when he is preaching literal child sacrifice in a supposed church, that is honestly far worse and far more sinister than if he was just a non-religious Democrat.
Woe unto you. Beware of James Talarico. That will be the battle line. And believe you me, Democrats want Texas blue more than anything else. We'll be right back.
Say it loud enough, call it fact. Change the words, dodge the blame. Sell the lie, then double back.
From Real America's Music, the label that brought you Anthem of the Free, The Boss, and Somali Waltz, comes a brand new anthem built for a distrustful age. Truth Bomb by the Truth Bombers.
Truth bomb.
Talks about distrust of institutions, media manipulation, shifting government narratives, big tech censorship, cancel culture, and ideological silencing. The culture needs a truth bomb, and this track delivers. Download it now. Scan the QR code or search Truth Bomb by the Truth Bombers on iTunes. We've broken records before. Let's do it again together.
Through every storm, every moment of uncertainty,
everybody needs to pray for Charlie Kirk right now.
Rev has stood strong.
We're not going to tolerate this stuff anymore.
Turn that anger into motivation to save this nation.
When we move together, there is power.
The cries of this widow will echo like a battle cry.
This is more than news. It's a movement.
This revolution of people taking their countries back.
A turning point. A chance to be part of something greater than yourself. Scan the QR code and stand with Rev. The story isn't over, and neither is your part in it. Step in. Be counted. Be heard. Together, we are Rev.
We will achieve American greatness. And we are just getting started.
Hi, I'm Bridgie. And why do I love Rob? Well, even out here in the cornfields of Iowa, I still need news I can depend on. That is Real America's Voice.
I'm Terry from New Jersey, and I just want to say that I love Real America's Voice. I love you guys. Keep up the good work.
This is Giselle Chaffin. I'm from North Carolina. I'd like to let you know that RAV News is the best news. Number one news. Truth seekers seek to find the truth. It'll set you free.
For too long, Americans have been trapped in a broken healthcare system that forces one-size-fits-all solutions. America's Health Share offers an alternative that supports faith, family, and personal freedom in healthcare. This is not insurance. This is a health freedom model. America's Health Share is a member-driven community where people share and manage their healthcare together. They believe that healthcare should be affordable, transparent, and aligned with your values, free from surprise bills or skyrocketing premiums. It focuses on prevention, personalized care, and keeping families healthy for the long term. Every American deserves health sovereignty, the freedom to lead their own healthcare journey with the treatments, insights, and support they need. America's Health Share is built on community patriotism and the freedom to make healthcare decisions that reflect your values and your conscience. They support therapies that are ethical, effective, and tailored to you, not one-size-fits-all mandates. So go to joinahsnow.org/RAV to get started. Membership starts as low as $68 for an individual, $136 for a couple, and $276 for a family. Take control and stand for freedom in healthcare. Join ahsnow.org/RAV. That's joinahsnow.org/RAV for more information. Terrence Bates here with your Real America's Voice news break. As the war with Iran continues to spread into a regional conflict, Secretary of War Pete Hegseth says Iran is, quote, toast.
And by the way, we have massive amounts of ammunition. We have the high end. A lot of it was given away stupidly by Biden, very stupidly, for free. And I'm all for Ukraine, but they gave away a lot. As you know, when I give away ammunition, everybody pays for it. The European Union's paying for it. Then they can do what they want with it, but they are giving it, let's say, to Ukraine, and it's okay. But we gave away a lot of high end, but we have plenty. But we have unlimited middle and upper ammunition, which is really what we're using in this war.
Meantime, the State Department is feverishly working to bring Americans who are in the Middle East home. We, of course, will have updates on that throughout the day.
The voice of generations. It's the Charlie Kirk Show.
All right. If you have ever met Glenn and Jenny Story from Patriot Mobile, you have been blessed. They are absolute salt of the earth people. And, you know, I actually want to get Glenn on the show soon.
Yeah,
he's Mr.
Great.
Texas, and they're fighting for all the right candidates. They're in the trenches. These are real they're trying to save Texas from this James Talarico kind of stuff. So you got to support them. And the way you support them and you support the movement and Christian conservative movement is you give them your business, candidly. I mean, it's sometimes it's that simple. And the best part about Patriot Mobile is when you give them your business, you're getting the same wireless service that you've come to expect from the big three. They have access to all of those. You can even put two phone lines, and two data networks on one phone, which is what I have done. They are backed by 100% U.S.-based customer support. Get unlimited data plans, mobile hotspots, international roaming. You can get all the things. So there's literally zero difference in your service. You can keep your number, keep your phone, or even upgrade. Go to patriotmobile.com/Charlie, patriotmobile.com/Charlie, or call them at 972-PATRIOT and then use the promo code Charlie for a free month of service. That's patriotmobile.com/Charlie or 972-PATRIOT using the promo code Charlie to get a free month of service. Trust me, support these guys. I've spent a lot of time with Glenn and Jenny, and they're great people. All right. So we have potentially on the show now one of the most accomplished military minds that I think we've ever had. And I want to talk strategy, chess pieces on a board kind of thing. This is Admiral Bob Harward. He grew up in Iran, graduated from the Tehran American School, and speaks Farsi. A former Navy SEAL and Vice Admiral, he led U.S. operations in Afghanistan and Iraq, served as Deputy Commander of the U.S. Central Command, counter and terrorism, all the things. This is a very accomplished gentleman. Admiral Bob Harward, welcome to the show. Honored to have you. There's so much news out of Iran. Give us the big picture view right now. How are our troops, along with Israel, how are they performing? Are we ahead of schedule, behind schedule? Your assessment, sir.
Incredible. The whole thing from cradle to grave is just incredible. That's the best description I can have. That we had a leader who was finally, after 40 years, willing to take the political risk to stand up to this repressive regime that has been killing our people, attacking our partners in the region, attacking us in cyber and with kinetic activities in Iraq and Yemen. So that in itself is incredible. Then the actions of our military, a real testament to the long-term investments, the long-term commitment, the professionalism of our military, and the capability and capacity of our military to come in here in a matter of days and really obliterate their integrated air defense system, their ability to project power. So it's just unprecedented. And then most important, as you noted, the strategy and what this means. This changes the geopolitical content of the world as we know it right now. We've removed one of the axis of evil that everyone's acknowledged for the last 3 or 4 decades. So it's just incredible in every way.
So I want to play this clip from Secretary of War Pete Hegseth talking about kind of the initial volley and return fire that we saw from Iran. He talks about it as a scripted play, like a football team. 482.
But I liken Iran's predicament to a football team who scripted the first 20 plays of a game. The team knew what plays to run because their first few drives were scripted. But now that the game has started and the blitz is on, they don't know what plays to call, let alone how to get in the huddle and call those plays. Iran's senior leaders are dead. The so-called governing council that might have selected a successor, dead, missing, or cowering in bunkers, too terrified to even occupy the same room. Senior generals, mid-level officers, enlisted ranks, they can't talk or communicate, let alone mount a coordinated and sustained offensive. The Iranian Air Force is no more, built for 1996, destroyed in 2026. The Iranian Navy rests at the bottom of the Persian Gulf.
So now this, I mean, all of this is amazing. And Pete Hegseth basically said that, you know, their air defense is we're about to command the skies over Iran in a day or two, less than a week. But then the question then, sir, becomes how long does this take? Because
we are seeing the concerns, Admiral, about missile stockpiles. Does the U.S. have enough for this to go weeks, months on end? Can we win that war of attrition with whatever Iran's built up? That's a concern I'm seeing a lot of people have. And we are seeing, for example, people are betting money on this sort of thing. The prediction markets say there's only about a 40% chance that the regime falls by July. Can the U.S. sustain this if the fight is going into April, May, the summer?
June, July, yeah.
Well, first off, I disagree with that premise completely. And again, our stockpiles are less relevant once we stop their ability to project power. If they can't launch missiles, they can't launch drones, they can't mine the Straits of Hormuz, who cares how long it takes? They can't hurt us. They can't hurt our allies. Time is on our sides then. Do we arm the Kurds? Do we move arms into the people, the opposition? Look, we've had 30 years of hunting people in Iraq, Afghanistan, Yemen, everywhere. We can apply that same capability here in Iran to the IRGC and the regime that's been killing its people. So then time is irrelevant as long as they pose no threat. And we've defanged them, which we're doing now. And as I said previously, we could well be at that tipping point now. We could take all the time in the world to eviscerate the leaders and those people who want to continue to project this ideology of radical Islam being a legitimate form of government to repress its people and threaten others in the region and us and our allies. So time becomes irrelevant in that line. So we have plenty of time to sustain that for whatever it takes. And I think, back to your timeline, June and July, once we've eviscerated that and focused capacity and capability on the IRGC, you're going to see a lot more people turning. They're going to have to make that choice. Do I want to live and be a part of the future, or am I willing to sacrifice my life for losing cause that has been proven to be illegitimate? So that's where I think this thing only accelerates. So this June and sustainment, I think that's a red herring.
Copy that. And so you're also a member of the Iran Policy Project at the Jewish Institute for National Security of America. So one of the things that's striking about this is you've seen, at least in America, but really around the world, you've seen Jews and Iranians celebrating in the streets together, which I think is a really, I mean, you wouldn't necessarily see that or predict to see that. But you speak Farsi. You know something about the internal makeup of the people in Iran. What is the next step then, especially when we're talking about potentially arming the Kurds? I mean, because then you start worrying about civil war breaking out or something like that. What is the will of the IRGC and those loyal to the regime to stick and stay fighting? And what would be the process for turning over the government and getting a new government in its place?
Let me go back to your initial comments about Israelis or Jews and the Iranians. When I grew up in Iran from 60s to 79, collapsed, the largest Jewish community outside of Israel was in Iran.
That's right.
And it was a very secular nation. They worked together, business. It was really a peaceful area. And I've been in LA's a few months ago where I attended a bar mitzvah. There were more Persians and Iranians than there were Jews in that bar mitzvah. So this ideology is what's made this whole regime so perverse. They flipped that on the head and made him their enemy and a threat as well as us. And the Iranian people have come to realize it's all a lie and facade. So again, back to this flipping the regime. Once we've decimated the ability to project power and can go after using signal intelligence, human intelligence, space assets, and can track and watch people not only to finish and fix them, but to identify them to the opposition groups so they can be targeted internally. And a few of those start occurring, you're going to watch these guys turn very quickly or leave the country if they can. So I think when you've got a nation of 90 million people where they've spoken very loudly, they've been on the streets protesting and were murdered, they're ready to hold these people accountable and act against them. And so again, I think that timeline can move much quicker than people realize.
Yeah, and I'm looking here at Iran and international.com, and there's a note here that I logged. It says the IRGC is also reportedly deeply concerned that once daylight breaks on Sunday, people across various parts of the country may take to the streets, potentially triggering a new wave of gatherings and protests. Have you heard anything on your end about a potential new wave of protests, people taking to the streets, or is it too early to tell? 1 minute left.
No, it's inevitable. They've already been done it, but they were mowed down. Now the president, as he said, help is on the way. The help's there, and it's even coming more. So they're going to be empowered. I don't know if it happens Sunday, if it happens Monday. It's coming. So no doubt about it. You'd have to be a blind man not to see it coming. The day of reckoning for this regime and those who stood with it, willing to murder the people of Iran, is coming much quicker than people realize. So this tipping point can occur almost any day now.
Yeah, well, I mean, listen, we certainly hope it doesn't devolve into some sort of sectarian fighting or civil war. And that's why we have people like you that know the people better than we do and understand what's going to happen next. So last 10, 15 seconds to you, sir.
Yeah, just again, as we started, this is an incredible event. And we got to start bickering, throwing stones at it. Let's see it through to fruition, and then we can debate afterward. But we're in the middle of the fight now, and this thing's going at a great rate of speed. Don't diminish it. Let's get it done.
Nobody is. I mean, we're all impressed by our military might, and it is incredible to watch. Thank you. Your perspective is invaluable, and your accomplishments for this country are. We respect them greatly and are grateful for you and your service, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
God bless you. I want to tell you guys about All Family Pharmacy. Guess what? A lot of Americans deal with reactive healthcare. That's not the way to do it. You get prepared in advance, and you can do that with All Family Pharmacy. You can order prescription meds before you are sick, keep them at home, have them ready when you need them most. Everything is done online. A licensed doctor reviews your request, and your medication ships straight to your door. So go to allfamilypharmacy.com/Kirk. allfamilypharmacy.com/Kirk. Use Kirk10 at checkout to save 10% on your next order. We love these guys. Check them out. We'll be right back.
Yeah. They feed you headlines, cut the frame, say it loud enough, call it fact. Change the words, dodge the blame, sell the lie, then double back.
From Real America's Music, the label that brought you Anthem of the Free, The Boss, and Somali Waltz, comes a brand new anthem built for a distrustful age. Truth Bomb by the Truth Bombers. Talks about distrust of institutions, media manipulation, shifting government narratives, big tech censorship, cancel culture, and ideological silencing. The culture needs a truth bomb, and this track delivers. Download it now. Scan the QR code or search Truth Bomb by the Truth Bombers on iTunes. We've broken records before. Let's do it again together.
Through every storm, every moment of uncertainty,
everybody needs to pray for Charlie Kirk right now.
Rev has stood strong.
We're not going to tolerate this stuff anymore.
Turn that anger into motivation to save this nation.
When we move together, there is power.
The cries of this widow will echo like a battle cry.
This is more than news. It's a movement.
This revolution of people taking their countries back.
A turning point. A chance to be part of something greater than yourself. Scan the QR code and stand with Rev. The story isn't over, and neither is your part in it. Step in. Be counted. Be heard. Together, we are Rev.
We will achieve American greatness. And we are just getting.
All right, welcome back to the Charlie Kirk Show. All right, listen, our U.S. military is second to none. We love our military. We support them. And again, once this conflict began raging, we want to win. All right. Once you press go, I think the patriotic thing to do is not take it blindly, not ask questions or anything like that. I disagree with all of those things. But we hope and pray for the safety of our troops, for the success of our troops, and that this will ultimately prove to be a good thing for the world. Now, you may have disagreed with this going on. By the way, Blake is going to pull emails. We talked about this. I don't know if you've already done this.
Yeah, I've been looking at them throughout.
Where it's like, we've got emails.
I feel like we've done our best on this show to talk about how we think Charlie would have reacted to the buildup to this war and the outbreak of it. And I feel a sign that we're hopefully getting it right is we have competing emails that say we are betraying Charlie by being too supportive of the president, and we are betraying Charlie by being too critical of the lead up to the war, and that we are skeptical of it. So,
and listen,
we think that's about the position you have.
That was exactly Charlie's experience when it came to these things. But a couple cool things have happened, actually, and cool in the sense that, listen, I love our military. There's nothing that is going to make me not love the military. My brother serves. I have family members that serve, and we're proud of them when they do cool things. And you could disagree with the premise of the war and still think that what they're doing is cool. And one of them is that we have sunk a ship.
We have sunk an enemy ship in battle, an American submarine. Let's throw up the B-roll, 498. An American submarine sunk an Iranian warship in the Indian Ocean. It had apparently gone to some sort of naval review in India. Dang. And then it was departing. It was in international waters, and it was sunk about 30 miles off the coast of Sri Lanka. Yeah, play it again.
It's amazing. I mean, the whole
you
back
can see
end
it
of that
there.
ship just goes.
We have a powerful torpedo, blew its back off. It's only the second time a nuclear-powered submarine has sunk a ship with a torpedo. The British famously took out the General Belgrano of Argentina during the Falklands War.
Yep.
But this is the first time an American submarine has done it since they were sinking Japanese ships 80 years ago. And you've got to think, it's got to be very exciting. Can you imagine that crew?
The first time
for
since
decades
World War
they've
II.
trained for this, and they're finally going into action.
Yep.
And
listen, that is a huge deal. The taking out the naval capabilities of the Iranians frees up the Strait of Hormuz. So just to reiterate, about 20% of the world's energy flows through the strait, and 14 to 15% of all world trade flows through the strait.
Part of President Trump was saying what his specific objectives are with this conflict, and it was remove the supreme leader, remove their nuclear program, and sink their navy. These are explicit objectives he has stated, so it takes us closer to achieving those objectives that this happened. And that's what we want to see. We want consistently from this administration, we want to see signs that they know what their objectives are and are working towards them. And what you want to avoid are signs of a conflict becoming open-ended, becoming unclear, just we will fight until victory, and without saying what that is.
This is a story that we need to get to here. And so CNN yesterday was reporting that the CIA is working to arm Kurdish forces. This was reported, the lead reporter on this was Natasha Bertrand, who you will know from the 50 former intel officials, believe that Hunter's laptop is
but that means they have
Russian
connections
disinformation. This Natasha Bertrand is notorious for basically publishing press releases from deep state intel operatives. Okay, this was a story that was leaked, meaning that, in my opinion, the people that leaked it are trying to harm the president. So here's CNN trying to explain this. 470.
We spent some time this evening with a senior Iranian Kurdish politician who basically told us that the expectation among Kurdish Iranian opposition forces is that they will be going into Western Iran as part of some kind of a ground operation over the course or at some point during the next few days, that they will have support from the U.S. and from Israel, though he would not be drawn as to what exactly that support will look like. He also told us that President Trump himself had called the leader of the KDPI, which is one of these Iranian Kurdish opposition parties, today, and that they had what he characterized, I should say, as a positive.
All right. So what's our history arming Kurdish
Well,
rebels?
we've done it for a long time. Israel also has extensive connections with the Kurds. So the Kurds are an ethnic group in the mountainous area. They've never had their own state, notably. And so
they're the largest ethnic group in the world that does not have their own state.
Yes. So they have... so they're all across northern Iraq, Iran. They're in Turkey. I think most of them are in Turkey. There are some in Syria. They've repeatedly popped up because they tend to be a fractious minority. I don't know that they're more Western. A lot of them are communists.
They're more Western friendly.
They're more Western friendly. That would be true. And we've armed them in a lot of conflicts. And sometimes it's helpful. Sometimes it's not. We encourage them to launch an uprising against Saddam Hussein. And they were gassed by Saddam Hussein before the Gulf War. After the Gulf War, we encouraged both Kurds and Shia Muslims in Iraq to rise up against Saddam, but we didn't support them directly, so they were suppressed. And they've also been heavily involved in the Syrian civil war. So I would find it pretty plausible if we were in communication with them to have some sort of on-the-ground presence in Iran, because President Trump, we know, doesn't want U.S. troops there. But I would voice a note of concern here, which is once you're kind of bringing in these ethnic militias, we have seen how that can end, which is you're turning a conflict into an ethnic civil war. We had that in Afghanistan. We had that in Libya. We had that in Syria. All those conflicts went for a very long time and became difficult.
Yep. Well, exactly. So these are part of the unintended consequences of regime change that we have talked about, because
we don't want we don't want it to be possible for the Iranian regime to say President Trump is trying to dismember Iran as a country. That will make it so the Iranians themselves, the Persians, who are the main ethnic group there, would be more likely to rally around the regime if it's going to say they're going to break apart our country.
Yeah, the hope is that within Iran itself, if you start seeing these street protests take action, if you start seeing command and control break down within the IRGC and the Quds Force, and obviously the naval apparatus has been dismantled, you want to see a natural sort of takeover. The question is, what is it going to take? I think
it would be helpful. I think it would be helpful if the admin probably said overtly, "We promise to not take apart Iran." That they're.
I don't
going
think they
to
want to.
Yeah, I don't think they do. So they should say it.
Yeah, they just want to apply maximum force to make them fall quickly. And I understand that, but unintended consequences, regime change, it's always the concern. Hour 2 in just a few minutes. Don't go anywhere.
They feed you headlines, cut the frame, say it loud enough, call it fact. Change the words, dodge the blame, sell the lie, then double back.
From Real America's Music, the label that brought you Anthem of the Free, The Boss, and Somali Waltz, comes a brand new anthem built for a distrustful age. Truth Bomb by the Truth Bombers. Talks about distrust of institutions, media manipulation, shifting government narratives, big tech censorship, cancel culture, and ideological silencing. The culture needs a truth bomb, and this track delivers. Download it now. Scan the QR code or search Truth Bomb by the Truth Bombers on iTunes. We've broken records before. Let's do it again together.
Through every storm, every moment of uncertainty,
everybody needs to pray for Charlie Kirk right now.
Rev has stood strong.
We're not going to tolerate this stuff anymore.
Turn that anger into motivation to save this nation.
When we move together, there is power.
The cries of this widow will echo like a battle cry.
This is more than news. It's a movement.
This revolution of people taking their countries back.
A turning point. A chance to be part of something greater than yourself. Scan the QR code and stand with Rev. The story isn't over, and neither is your part in it. Step in. Be counted. Be heard. Together, we are Rev.
We will achieve American greatness. And we are just getting.
Through every storm, every moment of uncertainty,
everybody needs to pray for Charlie Kirk right now.
Rev has stood strong.
We're not going to tolerate this stuff anymore.
Turn that anger into motivation to save this nation.
When we move together, there is power.
The cries of this widow will echo like a battle cry.
This is more than news. It's a movement.
This revolution of people taking their countries back.
A turning point. A chance to be part of something greater than yourself. Scan the QR code and stand with Rev. The story isn't over, and neither is your part in it. Step in. Be counted. Be heard. Together, we are Rev.
We will achieve American greatness. And we are just getting started.
Terrence Bates here with your Real America's Voice news break. Thanks for being here with us. It is 4 days into the U.S.-Israeli war with Iran, and Secretary of War Pete Hegseth, along with Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff General Dan Kane, are laying out the current situation.
Iran cannot outlast us. We're going to ensure through violence of action and our offensive capabilities and our defensive capabilities, as I said, that we set the tone and the tempo of this fight. That's why stories and speculation about different things that try to make it look like we're limited in what we can do. The only limits we have in this is President Trump's desire to achieve specific effects on behalf of the American people. And that's why we don't talk about, you can say 4 weeks, but it could be 6, it could be 8, it could be 3. Ultimately, we set the pace and the tempo. The enemy is off balance, and we're going to keep them off balance. And we know their ability to shoot versus our ability to defend. That difference gets wider and wider every day. Our defense gets better, their offensive capabilities diminish.
Real America's Voice correspondent and host of Breaking Point, David Zier, attended this morning's news conference and joins us live now with some perspective. David, good afternoon.
Hi, good afternoon, Terrence. And yes, Pete Hegseth added to that within a week we will probably have complete air superiority and their air defenses will be dismantled, as well as their ballistic missile program.
So really, in short, so far this campaign, the United States has taken out Iran's Navy, its air defenses, and really softened up everything to set the stage for whatever comes next.
Yes, and shipping lanes are opening up again, and their news services swirled with stories all morning about a naval vessel, Iranian, getting sunk in the Indian Ocean by possibly a U.S. submarine. Secwar Hegseth and General Dan Kane from the Joint Chiefs confirmed that we had the first torpedo launch on a foreign vessel from a U.S. submarine in about 80 years, going back to World War II, which maybe it's poetic justice. The name of the ship was the Soleimani, who injured and maimed and killed so many hundreds of troops, U.S. troops in Iraq on the ground. And I also got to ask Pete Hegseth about Hakeem Jeffries' comments that many say were irresponsible about us losing the Iran conflict.
Take us through those comments very quickly, if you don't mind, and the response you got.
Yeah, well, Hakeem Jeffries basically said that we're going to lose this. We're going to lose the Iran war, and Trump would disagree with that. And Secretary Hegseth, said he's been through this before. He's been through this like circus before. That Jeffries has been briefed on all of this, and he's being disingenuous with the American people to score political points. I guess hedging the bet, right? But while U.S. men are in combat, probably not the right thing to do. And I asked him, does it interfere with the motivation of our troops? And what do the enemies think about this? And he just said that what Jeffries did was wrong.
Okay. Let's move on to Ecuador, because that's also a developing situation. It was not addressed during the news conference, but U.S. Special Forces are now working with Ecuadorian military officials in the fight against drugs and to, on land at least, deal with some of the narco-terrorism. What's the reaction from the Pentagon? What are you hearing from your sources?
Well, U.S. Southern Command met, I believe, on Monday in Quito, Ecuador, with President Daniel Noboa, and who's a U.S. ally, and other senior officials in Ecuador. In Ecuador in 2024, 290 tons of drugs were seized, 30% higher than the year before. Violence is through the roof, with about 7,000 violent deaths in 2024, a homicide rate of almost 40 per 100,000, quintupling in over 5 years. And the surge in trafficking has coincided with this deterioration of the country's security, and no specific details were issued on the military activity. But tomorrow, we just got word from the Department of War in a press release that Hegseth will be at Southcom headquarters down in Doral on this expansion of U.S. strikes against boats in the region. And Trump will target suspects of, transporting drugs. And it's just an incredible operation. But remember, the Ecuadorian president is an ally of the United States.
Absolutely. David Zier reporting for us from Washington, D.C. this morning. Always good to see you, sir.
frame. Say it loud enough, call it fact. Change the words, dodge the blame. Sell the lie, then double back.
From Real America's Music, the label that brought you Anthem of the Free, The Boss, and Somali Waltz, comes a brand new anthem built for a distrustful age. Truth Bomb by the Truth Bombers. Talks about distrust of institutions, media manipulation, shifting government narratives, big tech censorship, cancel culture, and ideological silencing. The culture needs a truth bomb, and this track delivers. Download it now. Scan the QR code or search Truth Bomb by the Truth Bombers on iTunes. We've broken records before. Let's do it again together.
Through every storm, every moment of uncertainty,
Everybody needs to pray for Charlie Kirk right now.
Rev has stood strong.
We're not going to tolerate this stuff anymore.
Turn that anger into motivation to save this nation.
When we move together, there is power.
The cries of this widow will echo like a battle cry.
This is more than news.
All right. Welcome back. Hour 2 of the Charlie Kirk Show is underway, and we are joined by a couple of our college students. Every so often, we like to do a segment devoted to them because it's kind of what it's all about. It's what Charlie dedicated his life to, reaching the next generation. And today we have Megan Doyle from Rutgers University and Brooke Christie from Appalachian State University. Welcome to the show, both you ladies.
Thank you so much for having us here. It's exciting to be here.
Absolutely. All right. Well,
yes, thank you so much.
So which one's Megan and which one's Brooke?
I'm Brooke.
I'm Megan.
All right. There you go. Hey, Brooke. Hi, Megan. All right. So I want to start off by asking you guys to give us the vibe on campus of the strikes against Iran. What's the vibe? What are people saying? Let's go ahead and start with you.
Be honest with us.
Yeah, be
if it's
honest.
Bad, tell us. We want to know.
We want the unvarnished truth. Brooke, you first.
Yeah, I think at my campus especially, people are very upset with the United States and their involvement. I think that a lot of direction is pointed at Israel and questioning our allies and the motives in that way.
And Megan?
Yeah, I definitely agree. That's the same vibe that we're having on campus. And I think more people don't want to see another war.
Copy. So are you seeing protests? Are people gathering in the square, in the quad? What kind of activities are you seeing this manifest in?
I'm mostly seeing things through online platforms, people on Instagram or Twitter, just, really going in at President Trump and being upset that, gas prices might go up and forever war. Like, people really, really do not want boots on the ground in this circumstance.
Are you seeing that even from people that voted for Trump in 2024, or is it still mostly from people would be left-wing regardless? Or
I think the idea of starting a new foreign war is really, even for Trump voters, really deterring people from wanting to align with the administration and their actions. I can't speak for everyone, but I've definitely seen those opinions on campus.
Copy. Megan, you seeing the same thing?
Yes, and I think more people want to focus on our country. They don't want another war. They want to focus on affordability and housing and the gas prices.
Yeah. And I mean, listen, we've gotten a lot of emails from our audience that are upset that we're not, I guess, more full-throated in our support of the war. And this is a big reason why, is because, Charlie was very in tune with Gen Z. He visited college campuses at Turning Point. That's all we do is work with students. And I can tell you that the vibe on college campuses, even on high school campuses, that young people do not want to go to war. They want to focus here on domestic issues, affordability, college, that sort of thing. free speech? Are they going to have a job? Is AI taking over the job market? So that's a big reason why we're always a little reticent when we see this penchant for starting wars in the Middle East. It could end up being the absolute right decision from a national security perspective, but it does come with political costs, and we need to be honest about those. So thank you guys for being honest about those. All right, we're going to move on just a little bit here. There's a new report that says 51% of Gen Z view their college degree as a waste of money. This has been reported by multiple outlets, but
yet both of you are in a college right now. So explain yourselves and tell us how you feel about that.
Megan, let's start with you. Do you find your degree to be a waste of money?
Well, I think my degree, I want to be a lawyer one day, so I kind of have to have a degree in order to get to law school. However, I do think that colleges are ripping students off from getting a proper education. We have colleges that are forcing students as a graduation requirement to take indoctrination classes, and it really devalues our degree.
Brooke?
Yeah, I think that personally for me, I'm going into the education field and my degree will help me there. I think that a lot of students these days go into college with the expectation that the degree is the objective when, you know, college is really supposed to be for finding your life's work. And a lot of people are not going in directionally or thinking ahead of their career. So they're letting college really scam them instead of, you know, taking accountability for their classes and outside learning. And I don't think college, even with all of the social sciences and maybe like DEI classes and what we could call brainwashing. I think that just, you know, taking that accountability, really understanding the investment that you're making and going in with a purpose could really help with that statistic and letting kids know that when they go into college, it's not just a 4-year vacation, that it's purposeful and academia has a purpose.
Yeah,
in
exactly. And Charlie would you know, we emphasize the college scam because Charlie called it the college scam, but he would always make that important point that you make the scam less of one if you know what if you're studying something useful, if you're making the most of it, if you're not going on autopilot, going in with no plan, going in spending too much money and taking too long.
Let's play Charlie on why he thought college was a scam. 523.
Just to be clear, the vast majority of people going to college should not go. Just one number off the top is that 40% of kids that enroll in college, they drop out. They don't graduate at all. And the vast majority of kids are studying things that humanities, sociology, or gender studies. There is, of course, a role for some people to go to college that requires some technical proficiency. But what happened, Brian, is that the entire value proposition was turned on its head. Is whether it be the $200,000 plus of cost that it occurs for over 4 years, the bad ideas, the woke ideology, we're really playing with some very dangerous elements here. And so I encourage young people to think twice before going to college, and not everyone needs to go to college to succeed in America.
Do you resonate with that, Megan? Do you feel like there's a lot of indoctrination going on?
Yes, definitely. There is quite a lot of indoctrination going on in our college campuses. We're forced to take these liberal woke classes that are in quotes, so kind of supposed to help us, but in reality, they're just ripping us off and making us more woke.
Yeah, and you have to pay for that credit by credit, right? Don't get college. When I was in college, there's a price per credit that they put on that. I don't know what it is at Rutgers. I'm assuming pretty high, actually. You know, Rutgers University, by the way, Blake, was the we had Dr. Antifa was at Rutgers. That was a guy that wrote the Antifa handbook and then fled to Spain when it got hot because he was advocating that liberals should be preemptively attacking fascists. So, and then when he got a little criticism for that, he tucked tail and ran to Spain. I would love to keep you both for one more segment if you have enough time. I want to tell you guys about the best college, Charlie's favorite college, and that was Hillsdale College. Before he ever stepped behind a microphone, Charlie understood something important. Leadership begins with learning. He didn't chase a diploma or title. He chased truth, and this is totally true. He was an autodidact. He wanted to learn from the best and the greatest books, and through Hillsdale College's free online courses, he studied the great works of classics, the principles of the American founding, and life-changing truths of the Scripture. One of the courses he took was the Genesis story. This is actually true. It's taught by Hillsdale professor Dr. Justin Jackson. This free online course explores the relationship between God and man, what happens when that relationship is broken, and how do you reconcile it. And it's a real college course. It's rigorous, it's demanding, it's thoughtful, it's accessible to anybody who's willing to learn. You can take the very same course that Charlie did completely free, grow stronger in your faith, gain clarity about humanity and your place in the world, and prepare yourself for a life with courage and conviction. Visit charlieforhillsdale.com to enroll today. That's charlieforhillsdale.com to enroll today. Learn deeply, lead boldly, carry it forward. We love Hillsdale College. They're the best college. It's a perfect sponsor for this segment, by the way. We'll be right back.
Yeah. They feed you headlines, cut the frame, say it loud enough, call it fact. Change the words, dodge the blame, sell the lie, then double back.
From Real America's Music, the label that brought you Anthem of the Free, The Boss, and Somali Waltz, comes a brand new anthem built for a distrustful age. Truth Bomb by the Truth Bombers.
Truth bomb.
Talks about distrust of institutions, media manipulation, shifting government narratives, big tech censorship, cancel culture, and ideological silencing. The culture needs a truth bomb, and this track delivers. Download it now. Scan the QR code or search Truth Bomb by the Truth Bombers on iTunes. We've broken records before. Let's do it again together.
Through every storm, every moment of uncertainty,
everybody needs to pray for Charlie Kirk right now.
Rev has stood strong.
We're not going to tolerate this stuff anymore.
Turn that anger into motivation to save this nation.
When we move together, there is power.
The cries of this widow will echo like a battle cry.
This is more than news. It's a movement.
This revolution of people taking their countries back.
A turning point. A chance to be part of something greater than yourself. Scan the QR code and stand with Rev. The story isn't over, and neither is your part in it. Step in. Be counted. Be heard. Together, we are Rev.
We will achieve American greatness. And we are just getting started.
Hi, I'm Bridgie. And why do I love Rev? Well, even out here in the cornfields of Iowa, I still need news I can depend on. That is Real America's Voice.
I'm Terry from New Jersey, and I just want to say that I love Real America's Voice. I love you guys. Keep up the good work.
This is Giselle Chaffin. I'm from North Carolina. I'd like to let you know that RAV News is the best news. Number one news. Truth seekers seek to find the truth. It'll set you free.
Student loan debt, another perfectly on-topic discussion here. A lot of young people and their parents who often co-sign these loans, they feel trapped. It's terribly destructive, actually, because it puts off family formation, puts off starting your life, getting a home, getting ahead financially.
To take you to Washington, D.C. and the White House, where the latest White House press briefing is getting underway. Let's listen in.
Crushed.
47 years of tolerating and enabling the world's leading state sponsor of terrorism are over. Iran's murderous terrorist leaders are paying for their crimes against America, and they are paying in blood. Since 1979, the terrorist Iranian regime has actively and intentionally facilitated the killings of Americans. They chant death to America and fund other radical terrorists who attack our country and are seeking to destroy Western civilization itself. These terrorists seized our embassy and took 66 Americans hostage in Tehran. They slaughtered 241 U.S. service members with a truck bombing in Beirut. They killed and maimed hundreds of American service members in Iraq. And this is just a small fraction of their blood-soaked record. Prior leaders have been too weak and ineffective to address this threat. Some, like Barack Hussein Obama, even sent pallets of cash that ultimately financed this terrorist crusade against the United States and our people, while signing stupid and naive deals that put Iran on the path of developing nuclear bombs. After years of endless appeasement and empty statements from politicians on both sides of the political aisle in this town, President Trump is finally the man of action. President Trump is holding these monsters accountable and permanently extinguishing their nuclear ambitions. Future generations of Americans will look to this moment as the moment where the specter of a nuclear armed Iran ended. At the beginning of Operation Epic Fury, launched last weekend, President Trump laid out clear objectives to the American people on what the U.S. military seeks to accomplish through these major combat operations. Number one, destroy the regime's deadly ballistic missiles and completely raze their missile industry to the ground. Number two, annihilate the Iranian regime's navy. And so far, we have destroyed more than 20 Iranian ships, including their top submarine last night, using a torpedo for the first time since World War II. There is not a single Iranian ship underway in the Arabian Gulf, Strait of Hormuz, or the Gulf of Oman. Number three, Operation Epic Fury will ensure the regime's terrorist proxies in the region can no longer destabilize the region or the free world and attack our armed forces. And thus far, Iran's proxies are hardly putting up a fight. Number four, this mission will guarantee that Iran can never obtain a nuclear weapon. It's safe to say that thus far, Operation Epic Fury has been a resounding success. American forces have struck more than 2,000 targets, destroying hundreds and hundreds of ballistic missiles, launchers, and drones. As the Department of War said this morning, we expect to have complete and total dominance over Iranian airspace in the coming hours, clearing the skies for our brave warriors to continue achieving these noble and long sought-after objectives. There's been a lot of misreporting and intellectual dishonesty from the American media on why President Trump decided to launch this operation. So let me remind you, Operation Midnight Hammer, which took place last June, obliterated Iran's 3 major nuclear sites. Yet the terrorist Iranian regime has remained fully committed to rebuilding its nuclear program. How do we know this? Because Iran has pursued this path of war and violence despite President Trump dispatching 2 of his top and most trusted negotiators to engage in exhaustive and good faith negotiations to try and reach a deal. And the world knows this president's preference is always peace and diplomacy first. Look no further than the 8 additional global conflicts he has ended in the past year as proof. Unfortunately, the terrorist Iranian regime refused to negotiate in good faith. They chose this path of violence and destruction, and they are reaping the consequences of their horrible decision. The regime did what they always have done. They lied, they delayed, they tried to string the United States of America along. They wanted to buy themselves time to continue building ballistic missiles and other deadly weaponry that could harm our U.S. personnel and troops in the region, and to continue aggressively pursuing their unacceptable nuclear ambitions. U.S. negotiators offered to lift crippling sanctions on Iran and even provide nuclear fuel to Iran at no cost to support a civil nuclear power program. They additionally had the opportunity to accept U.S. support as an investor in potential projects to develop peaceful nuclear energy together under a mutually agreed-upon framework. Yet in response, Iran would have to forfeit their enrichment capacity once and for all. But Iran rejected. They accepted none of these generous and unprecedented offers by the United States. Simply put, they refused to say yes to peace. And their refusal made clear that their number one priority was building a nuclear weapon with which to threaten the United States of America. Again, the country they have been chanting death to for nearly 5 decades. Let me state this again clearly. Iran rejected the path of peace because the terrorists in charge of this regime wanted to build nuclear weapons to use against Americans and our allies. President Trump made the determination, a courageous determination and decision, that the path the United States was on with Iran had only one outcome: massive death and destruction at the hands of a nuclear-armed terroristic regime. That path of death and destruction and threats against the American people have ended with Operation Epic Fury. Operation Epic Fury has forged a new path that will better ensure the security of the United States and our people. The terrorists made a bet that President Trump would be like many of his predecessors, that he would just talk and he would refuse to enforce his clear red lines. But that has proven to be a catastrophic error in judgment. When President Trump makes a threat, and I have reiterated that threat many times from this podium to all of you over the past year, President Trump does not bluff. The president's words are backed up by the mightiest warriors in the world who possess the most sophisticated capabilities this world has ever known. 49 and counting of the most senior Iranian regime leaders, including the supreme leader, have already been wiped off the face of the earth. Make no mistake, killing these brutal terrorists is good for America and makes the world a much safer place. I want to also extend our prayers and condolences to the families of the 6 U.S. military service members who have been lost in Operation Epic Fury. These heroes represent the very best among us. They laid down their lives in defense of our country, and we will never forget their legacy or their sacrifice. As the president said, we grieve for these American patriots and their families as we continue the righteous mission for which they gave their lives. President Trump intends to attend the dignified transfer of these American heroes to stand in grief alongside their families. I understand the Department of War is working on scheduling this transfer, and we will provide updates at the appropriate time. Finally, the Trump administration is also doing everything within our power to protect Americans in harm's way. Since the launch of Operation Epic Fury, more than 17,500 Americans have safely returned home from the Middle East, with over 8,500 American citizens returning home to the United States just yesterday alone. If you are a U.S. citizen in the Middle East looking to return to the United States, the Secretary of State asks that you please register with the State Department at step.state.gov. The State Department will identify where you are and provide travel options directly to you. The administration is already rapidly chartering flights free of charge and booking commercial options, which we expect to become increasingly available as time goes on and the success of this mission further comes to fruition. I know the President and Secretary of State Rubio have been in touch as well with our allies in the region directly about this problem, making it clear that it is a priority of the United States of America to bring every American home. The Trump administration will not rest until every American is home safely and until the terrorist threat from Iran has been completely destroyed. With that, I'll take your questions. Eric, why don't you kick us off today? Thank you for being here.
Caroline, thanks so much for having me. It's great to be here. As you mentioned, Iran's regime, its leadership has largely been decimated. Do we have a sense right now of who is actually calling the shots in Iran? And we're also hearing reports that the Supreme Leader's son may be named his successor. Do you have any more information about that? I just had a quick follow-up as well.
Sure. We've seen those reports as well, of course, and this is something that our intelligence agencies are closely monitoring and looking at. The truth is, we'll have to wait and see. The president has said repeatedly that the objectives of Operation Epic Fury are the 4 military objectives that I laid out for you previously: to destroy Iran's navy, to destroy their ballistic missile capacity, to ensure their proxies in the region can no longer harm Americans, and to also ensure that they can never obtain a nuclear weapon. As for what comes next for Iran, the president has said, of course, it's a good thing for the United States to want freedom for the Iranian people, and ultimately we hope that freedom rests in their hands.
Caroline, we see the Arab and Muslim nations coming under fire as well. President Trump's vision for the region has been to to bring the Arab and Muslim nations to the table together, Abraham Accords, obviously, with Israel. If this regime topples, could we see a new day in the region and really a new Middle East come out of this when the dust settles?
Well, the greatest deterrent to true and long-lasting peace in the Middle East has always been the rogue Iranian terrorist regime. And our Arab and Gulf partners in the nation admit that, as well as, of course, our close friend and ally Israel. We have seen all of the Arab partners in the region come together during this time on the phone with President Trump, many of them commending him for this bold and brave action to protect American troops and our bases in the region that are housed in many of these Arab and Gulf states. And I know that many of these regional partners are contributing their air defense capabilities as well. Jordan, Bahrain, Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Qatar, Kuwait, and the president continues to be engaged with all of them. Welcome. Garrett.
Also have two, if you'll humor me. Axios, I think, was the first to report this morning this phone call between the president and Prime Minister Netanyahu, saying that Netanyahu had given the U.S. this information about where the Ayatollah would be and then he'd be with these deputies on Saturday. How important was that information in the president making the decision to strike where and when he did?
I think it was important with respect to the timeline, but I think the president, prior to that phone call, had a good feeling that the Iranian regime was going to strike the United States assets and our personnel in the region. And the president was faced with a choice. Does the United States of America use our military and our capabilities to strike first, to take out this threat that has been threatening our country and our people for 47 years, or is he going to, as commander-in-chief, sit back and watch as the rogue Iranian regime attacks our people in the region? That's obviously an unacceptable decision. For the second choice there is unacceptable to the president, which is why he made this decision. As for where the Ayatollah was going to be, that obviously had an impact on the timeline of the operation, but not quite the president's decision in its entirety.
And then on the way the public is viewing this, we were sitting here last week. I asked you if the president was going to make this a big part of the State of the Union, if he felt like he had to sell the possibility that he'd do strikes like this. We're now 5 days on. He hasn't done kind of the traditional speech to the nation part of it. Does the president believe the country supports the actions that he's taken so far in Iran?
I think he does, and I think the president knows the country is smart enough to read past many of the fake news headlines produced by people in this room that this action was unjustifiable. Again, this is a rogue terrorist regime that has been threatening the United States, our allies, and our people for 47 years. And the American people are smart enough to know that, and they've also been smart enough to listen to the president himself, not just over the past year in this second term, but during his first term as president, and also for the past 40 years of his life. This is a president who has been remarkably consistent on this issue, that Iran can never obtain a nuclear weapon. And the president tried peace through diplomacy exhaustively and extensively. He and his team gave it their best go, and the president ultimately came to the determination that peace was not a pursuable path. The Iranian regime, they want death, they want destruction, they want to kill Americans, and that's unacceptable to this president. It's intolerable to him as commander-in-chief. Jackie.
Thank you, Caroline. Obviously seen the update from the State Department on the 17,500 Americans that have already come back, including some 8,000 just yesterday. There are still 6,000 that are looking to get out, as I understand it. And just in the context of what you just told Garrett about the president's decision on a timeline, if he had decided to do this strike before receiving, the specific intelligence about the meeting on Saturday, should there have been more done in advance of the strikes to try to get those Americans in the region resources and information to get home before day 3 of the war?
There was many signs put out by the State Department, and I wish that everyone in this room would report on them. The Secretary of State issued level 4 travel advisories dating back to January for many of these countries in the region. On January 14th, the U.S. mission to Saudi Arabia advised personnel and Americans to exercise increased caution and limit non-essential travel to any military installations. On February 11th, the U.S. Department of State Consular Affairs shared a list of countries with level 4 do not travel advisories. You can't be much more clear than that. Do not travel to these following countries. On February 23rd, the U.S. Embassy in Lebanon ordered non-emergency government personnel and family members to leave Lebanon due to safety risks, and we helped them do that. On March 2nd, the State Department urged U.S. citizens to depart Lebanon immediately. With respect to Iran, on February 27th, the Secretary military designated Iran as a state of sponsor of wrongful detention and stated no American should travel to Iran for any reason. And again, on February 27th, the U.S. ambassador to Israel warned Americans to leave Iran, and they provided travel advisory alerts through the U.S. Embassy in Jerusalem. So the State Department was all hands on deck on advising extreme caution and do not travel alerts to Americans in the region. With respect to the Americans who are still in the region now, again, the State Department is asking that they register at the website so they can directly identify you, and we are actively and rapidly working to charter flights. There is some commercial flights that are taking off intermittently from these countries, and we plan to get Americans on board as quickly as possible, again, free of charge to them. And we have some additional measures that I think will be announced in the coming days. Again, I can also reiterate from the president's perspective, this is something he's brought up directly with our allies and partners in the region, that we expect their help in getting Americans home, and we will do that, and we will not rest until every single American is returned home safely.
Thank you. And then one follow-up just on how people might be experiencing this at home. With respect to the economy and the cost of oil spiking, is there a need to start those Navy escorts in the Strait of Hormuz now to sort of blunt the impact to people? And also, because Spain is a member of the EU, does that at all put a wrinkle in the president's plan for a trade embargo with them?
With respect to Spain, I think they heard the president's message yesterday loud and clear. And it's my understanding over the past several hours they've agreed to cooperate with the U.S. military. And so I know that the U.S. military is coordinating with their counterparts in Spain. But the president expects all of our European allies, of course, to cooperate in this long sought-after mission, not just for the United States, but also for Europe, to crush the rogue Iranian regime that, again, not only threatens America, but also threatens our European allies as well. With respect to oil prices and the economy here at home, of course, this is something that Secretary Bessent, Secretary Wright, the National Economic Council of Energy, that is led by Secretary Burgum, has been long working on and well in advance. Yesterday, President Trump announced the U.S. Development Finance Corporation will provide political risk insurance at a very reasonable price for crude carriers and cargo ships operating in and around the Gulf. And as you pointed out, Jackie, the president said if necessary and when appropriate, the U.S. Navy will begin escorting tankers through the Strait of Hormuz. I think it speaks to why this action was so necessary, that ultimately the energy industry is going to benefit from the president's actions with respect to Iran, because Iran will no longer be controlling the Strait of Hormuz and restricting the free flow of energy, which, as you all know, controls 20% of the world's global oil supply.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thanks, Caroline. The president said yesterday there wasn't time to make evacuation plans because this all happened so quickly. Given how critical the president has been of the chaotic evacuation from Afghanistan by the last administration 5 years ago, why wasn't there more of a focus on evacuation plans from the Middle East that could have been at least put in place, ready to go before the strikes this weekend?
Again, I just laid out for you that there have been plans in place and that the State Department has been very clear to the American people traveling within this region not to travel to these regions. We gave notices to leave immediately the countries where these Americans were within. And unlike the previous administration, we actually have a number. We actually have identified the number of people in the region who have requested help. We are in direct contact and engagement with them. And you have to keep in mind, there's a few thousand people who have requested assistance to come home in comparison to the millions who we understand are in the region. So we will help every single American who wants to come home if they're making that request of the State Department.
Americans who called the State Department hotline as recently as last night were being told, we can't help you, you have to make your own plans.
Well, the line was updated, and I expect every single person in this room to report on that accurately so that information can be relayed appropriately to your audiences and to the American people. I think as journalists, you all have a responsibility to let them know that the line has been updated accordingly with the proper guidance, because I saw many people in this room very quick to do selfie videos with the line yesterday, but not so quick to report on the corrected message today. So that is something the administration administration quickly worked to address, and we have fixed that problem. However, we're also pointing to people to the website, again, to register so that we know exactly where you are. So when there are commercial flights moving into that area, when there are chartered flights moving into that area, we can get Americans on planes as quickly as possible.
Do you have any details on how many charter flights have been able to get out of the region so far with Americans on board?
I don't have an exact count for you, but I know that we're working on chartering many flights. As soon as we were doing it yesterday, we're doing it again today. And you should not expect us to detail exactly when these flights are taking off for obvious reasons. The Iranians have shown that they are not going to hesitate to target civilians in the region, which is completely intolerable. But for safety and security reasons, we're not going to be broadcasting when flights full of Americans are going to be taking off, obviously. Danny.
At the top there, you said that the Iranian regime is being absolutely crushed. Can you explicitly say then whether or not regime change is a goal of President Trump's operation?
The goals of this operation have been made very clear, Danny, and the president has said them in his speech when he launched this operation and released that video in the middle of the night to all of you and to the world. The stated military objectives of Operation Epic Fury are as follows: eliminate Iran's ballistic missile threat, destroy their naval capability, disrupt missile and drone production infrastructure, sever their pathway, and end their pathway to nuclear weapons. And I can report, as you all saw from the Pentagon today, that thus far this operation has been remarkably successful. Again, we're moving towards complete and total control of Iranian airspace. We have continuous 24/7 strike operations ongoing. We've had more than 2,000 targets that have been struck. Nearly 2,000 munitions have been employed. The first 24 hours of this campaign were described nearly as twice the scale of the 2003 shock and awe campaign. And we've seen that the enemy, the Iranian rogue regime, their retaliatory strikes against the United States and the threat reduction has reduced significantly. If you look at the Iranian ballistic missile launches, they're down 86% from day one levels. So while the United States military continues to increase its complete dominance over this rogue regime, they are weakening day by day.
Regime change is not a phrase that you would want to use.
Again, Operation Epic Fury, I just detailed the goals and objectives of this very quickly. But obviously, as the president has said numerous times, do we want to see Iran being led by a rogue terrorist regime? No, of course not. So any day the United States of America is taking out a terrorist is a good day for our country and a good day for our people.
So given that point that you just make about the United States wouldn't mind seeing the government overthrown, certainly President Trump has talked about wanting to see Iranians overthrow the government. Has the president considered at all kind of how he views a U.S. role, if any, in Iran post-conflict?
I think it's something the president is actively considering and discussing with his advisors and his national security team. But again, right now, the focus, minute by minute, hour by hour, day by day, is on ensuring the quick and effective success of Operation Epic Fury. Sure. Go ahead.
I want to ask you about the U.S. munitions stockpile.
I don't even know who's speaking because I wasn't looking at you. But you can ask a question and then I'll go to you.
I want to ask you about the U.S. munitions stockpile. President Trump posted on Truth Social on Monday that the U.S. still has a good supply of weapons, but that we're not where we need to be. What does he mean by that? And does President Trump then want to ask on Congress to pass a supplemental to increase funding for missile interceptor systems like the ones being used to defend U.S. bases in the Middle East from Iranian missiles?
I don't have any updates for you on congressional asks from the president. As you know, under this president, we have significantly increased our defense budget, which is a good thing for the United States, for our national security, and for protecting our homeland. With respect to munitions, ammunition, weapon stockpiles, the United States of America has more than enough capability to not only successfully execute Operation Epic Fury, but to go much further. And we have weapon stockpiles in places that many people in this world don't even know about. However, the president in that post was pointing out that, unfortunately, we had a very stupid and incompetent leader in this White House for 4 years who gave away many of our best weapons for nothing, for free, to another country very far away by the name of Ukraine. So the president was pointing out how that was an unwise decision, but nevertheless, don't doubt the strength and the might of the American military. And I will also add, President Trump has rightfully been calling on defense contractors in this country to rapidly and aggressively produce American-made weapons because they are the best in the world, and the president always likes to get things done as quickly as possible, and so he's been quite vocal in his efforts to try to speed up our defense industry to protect our homeland.
Caroline,
go ahead.
Caroline, could you tell us about the president's current thinking about ground troops and whether they could be used if they were to be sent into Iran? What would they be used for? What's the situation?
Well, they're not part of the plan for this operation at this time, but I certainly will never take away military options on behalf of the President of the United States or the Commander-in-Chief, and he wisely does not do the same for himself. I know there's many leaders in the past who like to take options off of the table without having a full understanding of how things could develop. So again, it's not part of the current plan, but I'm not going to remove an option for the President that is on the table. Sean.
Did the United States airstrike a girls' elementary school and kill 175 people?
Not that we know of, Sean, and the Department of War is investigating this matter, and I would just tell you very strongly the United States of America does not target civilians, unlike the rogue Iranian regime that targets civilians, that kills children, that has killed thousands of their own people in the past several weeks, and uses propaganda quite effectively, and unfortunately many people in this room have fallen for that propaganda. So I would caution you from pointing the finger at the United States of America when it comes to targeting civilians, because that's not something that these armed forces do. Reagan.
Thanks, Caroline. Prior to the Iran conflict, the SAVE Act was really the focus of the news cycle. Is the SAVE Act still a priority for the administration?
Absolutely.
Can you just provide an update on the administration's talks with Congress to get the SAVE Act through?
SAVE Act is absolutely still a priority for this president and the administration. The focus, of course, of much of the president's time right now is on ensuring the success of Operation Epic Fury, but the president can walk and chew gum at the same time, and he's very much continuing to focus on the issues that matter here at home for the American people, including the passage of the SAVE Act, including on bringing down the cost of living, which is why you'll see the president in about an hour and a half at the Ratepayer Protection Pledge Roundtable, where he will be sitting with big tech companies, with AI companies who are building in communities across the country and have pledged to pick up the cost of the electricity tab in these small towns and communities across the country, which is a great thing for American consumers. So you'll be hearing from the president directly on this very important domestic agenda item later this afternoon, and it's something that he mentioned in his State of Union address, so check it off the list as another promise made and kept by this president. Sure, go ahead.
Thanks, Caroline. I just wanted to get back to Danny's question. So those four objectives that you read out do not explicitly include regime change. If those objectives were achieved and the Islamic Republic still existed, would that be an acceptable outcome?
That's a hypothetical question that I'm not going to engage in. Again, right now, the president and the commander-in-chief are focused on executing the success of Operation Epic Fury, which we are already doing so in a very tremendous and impressionable way. Stephen.
Thank you, Caroline. Two questions. The Trump administration reportedly is considering arming Kurdish forces in the hopes of inspiring a popular uprising in Iran. Could you comment on that report?
I could comment on the fact that the president has held many calls with partners, allies, and leaders in the region, in the Middle East. He did speak to Kurdish leaders with respect to our base that we have in northern Iraq. But as for any report suggesting that the president has agreed to any such plan is completely false and should not be written.
President Trump was saying yesterday that he is okay with someone from within taking over in Iran. He spoke about how Venezuela he saw as a successful model where Delcy Rodriguez took over and had a better relationship. Iran's President Pezeshkian, he took office in 2024 as a relative reformer. He's part of a three-man council now replacing the supreme leader. Does President Trump see him as a potential successor who is more pliable?
Again, that's another hypothetical, and I haven't spoken to the president about this specific individual, so I don't want to get ahead of him on any assessments that should be made.
Thank you. Yesterday, the president acknowledged that oil prices will be a bit high. As for gas prices here in the U.S., what is the admin
doing right now to counter that? I mean, should they skyrocket? Is there a plan to help, Americans right now with those higher gas prices? And then a second question, on the rash that was on the president's neck, the White House physician said it was a preventative skin cream that he was using, but why is the president using this cream? What are they trying to prevent with this cream? To your second question, I don't have anything additional to add to the physician statement that we provided to all of you on those questions, but I know the statement said that the redness on the neck will dissipate within the next couple of weeks. To your first question about oil prices, thank God we have a president who has exuded American energy dominance over the past year, in an administration that is wholeheartedly focused on keeping prices stable as best as we can. Of course, this operation is temporary to protect the homeland, but crude oil prices did fall yesterday. They remain stable today after the president announced steps to ensure the stability in global energy markets. Again, those include the DEC offering reasonably priced political risk insurance and the potential for the U.S. Navy to provide protection for the flow of energy through the Strait of Hormuz. It is the president's belief and his economic team's belief that the economy continues to be very strong. It's robust and will be able to weather any of the temporary impacts of Operation Epic Fury. John.
Thanks a lot, Caroline. Just to follow up to that, the timeline for making the Strait of Hormuz safe for oil tankers to transport their oil through the strait, what is that timeline, and what can the president do to speed up that timeline?
I don't want to commit to a timeline, but certainly it's something that is being calculated actively by both the Department of War and the Department of Energy. They're working very closely. Both secretaries are in all of the briefings on this subject with the president, and this is, again, something they're monitoring, and if and when necessary, the United States Navy will provide assistance to escort oil tankers through the strait.
Caroline.
Sure, in the blue.
Thank you, Caroline.
You're not in blue, Andrew. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, I guess you are, sort of. I'll go to you after.
You had mentioned about the commercial aircraft being used for the evacuations. What about the use of military aircraft? Would that happen in conjunction with that or subsequent to?
That is something that is definitely underway, and of course we're going to use that in conjunction. We want as many planes, whether they're chartered, commercial, or military, taking Americans out of the Middle East and returning them safely home. So yes. Andrew, go ahead. You're welcome.
At the top of the briefing, you listed a long list of grievances against the Iranian government, going back to the takeover of the embassy in '79, barracks bombing in the '80s, etc. But no one from the administration has laid out the imminent threat that was supposed to be taken care of by this. And the rationales offered by, say, Secretary Rubio, the president's national security advisor, said that the threat was retaliation against American interests from Iran after Israeli strikes. The president says it was his own feeling that Iran was going to attack. Why is it that across the administration you can't say what the imminent threat against the United States was that required us to launch this? And also, Prime Minister Starmer told Parliament today that his reason that he didn't allow the use of British bases was that he was not satisfied that there was a lawful basis and a viable, thought-through plan. Was there an attempt to provide the UK government with a legal basis for these strikes and a viable, thought-through plan?
To the first question, I completely reject the premise of your question. You have had the President of the United States, the Secretary of War, the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs, the Vice President of the United States, the Secretary of State, and now I am out here today to explain to you exactly what led the President to make the decision to launch Operation Epic Fury. And President Trump does not make these decisions in a vacuum. This decision to launch this operation was based on a cumulative effect of various direct threats threats that Iran posed to the United States of America, and the president's feeling based on fact that Iran does pose an imminent and direct threat to the United States of America, based on the fact that they are the world's leading state sponsor of terrorism, based on the fact that they were rapidly and aggressively building up their ballistic missile program to give themselves immunity within their country alongside their navy, so that inside their country they could continue to create nuclear weapons and nuclear bombs, which would of course pose a risk to Americans in the region and even Americans one day here at home. And then another point on this is the president found that through these extensive, exhaustive, failed negotiations with Iran, that they were hell-bent on death and destruction. So again, the president was not going to be just another president on a very long list who sat back and stood by and passed the buck of this direct threat to the next administration. The president had a feeling, again, based on fact, that Iran was going to strike the United States, was going to strike our assets in the region, and he made a determination to launch Operation Epic Fury based on all of those reasons. And I would like the media to actually report on all of them, rather than just picking sound bites from one person in this administration and saying, oh, they're contradicting the other person. No, again, these decisions are not made in a vacuum. They are made by the president's feeling that Iran was going to strike the United States and our assets in the region, and he was not going to sit back and watch that happen. The determination was made that the president was going to strike first alongside Israel, and that has obviously been proven to be the right decision and an effective one at that. Libby, go ahead.
Thank you, Caroline. A two-part question for you here. First, has the president spoken with the family members of those U.S. service members that were killed? Second, given what you've outlined throughout this entire briefing, I mean, the United States has sunk a bunch of Navy ships. We've hit all of these targets. What can Americans expect the goal to be moving forward now that the U.S. has accomplished all of this? What is victory, given we've even taken out Iran's supreme leader? That was an explicit goal.
Again, victory will be determined by the commander-in-chief once the goals and the objectives that we have repeatedly laid out are fully realized. Again, we just, in the next few hours, will be achieving that dominance over the skies, which means the United States military will be raining missiles and weapons down on Iran to hit these specific targets that have been identified as crucial to take out by the Department of War. John.
Thank you so much, Caroline. Has the U.S. posture changed in regard to a nuclear North Korea, given the latest strikes on Iran and the fact that the stated goal is to make sure that Iran is not a nuclear country?
I don't have any change in position with respect to North Korea today.
Thank you. A quick follow-up. There's been reports that Ali Khamenei's son has been elected as the next supreme leader. Does the administration think that he is a part of the same regime as his father? Would they like people in the country to rise up and get him out of power?
There's reports he's been elected, or that he's assuming to be elected. One of the likely options.
Pardon me, what was that?
That he's one of the likely options, or that he has been elected. Okay, so we'll wait to confirm until someone actually is elected.
You just mentioned that the president is going to attend the dignified transfer for these families. Given what Secretary Hegseth said this morning, is it the position of this administration that the press should not prominently cover the deaths of U.S. service members?
No, it's the position of this administration that the press in this room and the press across the country should accurately report on the success of Operation Epic Fury and the damage it is doing to the rogue Iranian regime that has threatened the lives of every single American in this room. If the Iranian regime had their choice, they would kill every single person in this room. And so we can all be very grateful that we have an administration and that we have men and women in our armed forces who are willing to sacrifice their own lives for the rest of us in this room and for every American across the country and for every troop that is based in the Middle East. That's what these...
Secretary Hegseth was complaining that it was front page news about these 6 service members who were killed.
That's not what the secretary said, Caitlin, and that's not what the secretary meant, and you know it. You know you are being disingenuous. There is not... We've never had a Secretary of Defense who cares more.
Get through or tragic things happen. It's front page news. I get it. The press only wants to make the president look bad.
Yeah,
as you know, we cover the deaths of U.S. service members under every president.
The press does only want to make the president look bad. That's a fact. Especially you. No, Listen to me, especially you and especially CNN. And the Secretary of Defense cares deeply about our war fighters and our men and women in uniform. He travels all across this country to meet with them, to connect with them, and your network has hardly ever probably reported on that. You also had the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, Chairman Kane, who's a brave patriot, standing alongside the secretary at the Pentagon this morning, again expressing his condolences to these families. And I just told you that the President of the United States will be attending their dignified transfer. So please,
that's not making the president look bad. That's showcasing that.
We expect you to cover that as you should. We expect you to cover that as you should, Caitlin. But you and your network know that you take every single thing this administration says and tries to use it to make the president look bad. That is an objectable fact.
I don't think covering troop deaths is trying to make the
if you're trying to argue right now that CNN's overwhelming coverage is not negative of President Donald Trump, I think the American people would tend to agree, and your ratings would tend to disagree with that as well. Go ahead.
Thank you so much. On the school strike, back to that for a minute. I understand that the U.S. does not target civilian infrastructure. That's what you said. Can you say that there's any evidence right now that it was not a U.S. strike? And then also, you didn't mention Israel in that. Is there any assessment about Israel's potential likely role in that, if at all?
Again, the Department of War is currently investigating this matter, but again, I will reaffirm that the Department of War and the United States Armed Forces do not target civilians, as does the Iranian regime,